Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. How you doing? Good. First of all, Harry, I want to thank you for that overly generous introduction. And I want to thank you, congratulate you on winning the presidency of this powerful union. A union with a very proud past, and I can feel in this room, I want to congratulate you on an equally promising future for this union. And I want to congratulate you for your focus on the future. And I want to thank all of you for inviting me to be here with you. It's great to be here. Now, Harry and I have known each other for a lot of years. I won't go into how many. We're both part of a fighting Pennsylvania labor movement where we all learned from each other and we hashed things out whenever we had to. And that's how we've grown stronger together. And that's how we were able to support each other. Because quite frankly, if we hadn't talked through our troubles and our triumphs, we wouldn't have known what we could do for each other. And I ask you to think about that and remember that and to do the same. You see, learn from each other, talk to each other, because building community starts at home. It starts within the House of Labor and even within our own unions, our own locals, and definitely within our own state and local labor movements. Now, 2 weeks ago, at the AFL-CIO convention, just down the road a few miles in Los Angeles, we talked a lot about building community, about strengthening the labor movement at the local level, and reaching out beyond our own members in our communities. And nothing is more important to our ability to win good contracts and to fight for genuine American living standards, to engage in electoral politics when it matters, and to build real strength in our unions and in our communities. See, they're all tied together. They all come back to one basic idea. And that basic idea is when we're together, all of us, each and every one of us is stronger and better off. And to tell you the truth, one of our greatest hurdles between where the labor movement is today and where we need to be is isolation. Not just us, but working people all over America are isolated from each other. They want us to believe that we're in this fight alone. There's no sense in struggling because, like the Borg used to say, resistance is futile. That's what they want us to believe. But it's time to break the isolation. And that's how solidarity starts. You see, the corporate right wing knows how to pressure us, how to pit us against one another, how to plant the seeds of insecurity. And we can't react to that pressure by turning against each other or by closing ourselves off from the outside world. You see, corporate CEOs and Wall Street right-wingers understand isolation and alienation. They've taken advantage of our divisions. They've taken advantage of our insecurity. They've learned how to exploit just about every institution in America to enrich themselves at the expense of the 99%. Now, everything from the speed and frequency of online stock trades to gaming the Federal Reserve monetary policy to using tax loopholes and, don't let me forget, the bankruptcy laws, too often those institutions have been used for one purpose, and that was to skim profits for the few at the expense of the many. And that's why it's not a surprise, although I got to tell you, it makes me extremely angry, when people say that the American working class is no longer middle class. Think about that. The American working class is no longer middle class. And that, brothers and sisters, is our shared experience in America today. Everyone who works for a living works harder, creates more value over longer hours, and yet most of us earn less. Now think back over the last 15 years. Think about all the work that you did individually. Think about all the work your coworkers did, your friends, neighbors, and your family did. And all the wage increases over that last 15 years, not some, not most, not the majority, not even the vast majority, but all of those increases went to the top 10% in this country. And I want you to remember that statistic because it's the source of so much pain in this country. And because it's something that we're going to change. Remember, all the wage increases over the last 15 years went to the top 10%. Incomes of the rest of us, 90% of America, well, our incomes went down. And those whose incomes went up the most were those at the very top of the heap already, the very richest, the richest 1%. Since 2009, the pay of America's CEOs has gone up 40%. Now I want you to imagine for a second how strong our families could be, how strong our communities could be, how strong our economy could be if the incomes of ordinary people had increased at that rate. Think about it. If our pay had gone up 40%, more people would be working, we would have a better America, fewer kids would be hungry, and the rest of us would live a whole lot better. You see, but it didn't. We do the work, but our pay's down. And the 1%, well, they bent the rules. They corrupted our democracy. And they took all the money. And I got to tell you, that's wrong. It's un-American. It's completely backwards. And it stood our country upside down. Brothers and sisters, we're going to turn America right side up with a real working class movement, a movement that's building right here in this hall with the letters TWU. And I'm not talking about a silver bullet or a magic bean that we can plant somewhere. I'm talking about old-fashioned unionism, about talking to each other, about supporting each other, about talking within our movement with our friends and allies outside the walls of our union halls, to find out what we need from each other, and to find out what will make us all grow a little bit stronger. And then we'll take action and move forward together. You know, it doesn't take but once or twice standing together before the strings of our common experience strengthen into the tight bonds of real solidarity. See, that's how we'll build community. That's how we'll build an America where you don't surrender your humanity. your dignity, and your rights when you go to work. Sisters and brothers, we're going to tear down those barriers. We're going to remove the barriers between us all. Union, non-union, never heard of unions yet. And we're going to reach out to everybody who works for a living, and we're going to build us a new working class movement. And we're not going to let employers or politicians tell us who's in our movement and who isn't. Working people alone will decide who's in our movement. We will. You see, that's our job, that's our responsibility, and we'll stand and we'll fight and we'll march and we'll struggle with every single worker who needs us, because we're the American labor movement. We know solidarity, real solidarity, where your picket line is my picket line, where you grow by organizing and not raiding. Real solidarity, and we won't be denied. Now, you know my position on your legislative priorities. I stand with you 100%. You don't need me to run through them right now. But I want you to know something. That I know and that I value the work that you and each of your members do. See, you make America move. You make the work of millions of workers possible. As you take people to their jobs in New York City and San Francisco and Miami and so many other cities. You move people and vital goods over railways, through the air, and all over America. Whatever your job, your work makes a difference, because it takes all of us together to make this thing move. And together, we'll make sure that America once again values work. Your work and all work. And then rewards that hard work with fair pay and good benefits and a retirement security. You see, by the time we wrapped up the AFL-CIO convention, we'd agreed on a full agenda of change for our movement. And we focused on 3 broad areas. The first is growth, innovation, and political action. The second is building shared prosperity in the global economy. And the third is all about building community partnerships and grassroots power. And we discussed major plans to translate that agenda into action. And so today, we're looking at how that action will play out. Now, as a movement, we endorsed a whole bunch of resolutions. But passing resolutions is one thing. Making them a reality is what we have to do now. You see? And that's where you come in, because I need your help. I need your commitment. See, brothers and sisters, I'm not satisfied with having a few nice phrases on some fancy paper. I want to use the power that we have and the power that we'll build to improve the lives of working people. And I'm dead serious about that. To improve the lives of immigrant workers who deserve a pathway to citizenship. To improve the lives of African Americans who are being needlessly jailed and their lives wasted. Ending poverty so that 2 out of 5 of our kids doesn't go to bed hungry every night, while millions and billions and trillions of dollars are squandered by Wall Street on all of their schemes. And I'm dead serious about that. And everything that we do, I mean everything, should be part of this overarching strategy for winning shared prosperity. And I'm talking about everything that we do, from the local to the national level to the labor movement. What you do, what I do, every day. If we're not moving the dial forward, we better stop and start thinking about it again, and then do something different. And that's why I'm asking for your help. I'm asking you to take what you accomplished at your convention and truly take it to heart. Understand that when the convention ends, nothing's over. That's when it all begins. Making real all the high ideals that we talked about. Making a labor movement where real solidarity exists rather than one that we fantasize about. And then I want you to go home dissatisfied. And I want you to go home hungry for action. And I mean really hungry for action. Now, why do I say dissatisfied? Well, our unions have proud histories. But we can't be satisfied with a legacy. Our labor movement has too often been defined by our past achievements. And I got to tell you, that's not good enough. That's not good enough for some young child in a ghetto that's thinking about breaking the law right now because they can't find a job. That's not good enough for a man or a woman who's about to get laid off right now because their job's been shipped somewhere else. As a movement, all of us, we can't be satisfied until we make real change on the ground, back home, in our local communities. And I'm asking you to build with me a new legacy, a new heritage to pass on to our children. Help me build our legacy instead of being limited by it, to rely on our founding strength and our solidarity and our values, and then use them to build a new working class movement in our time, for our time, a movement of, by, and for working people. What we need is the willingness to use our solidarity, to stand together, and to let every worker know whoever marches with us will have a friend for life, a powerful friend, thousands of friends, millions of friends who will rise together and march together, not when it's easy, but when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And the harder it is, the longer we'll stand together. Because, brothers and sisters, we do the work of America. We drive the trains, we clean the homes, we write the software, and we teach the children. We put the scrubbers on power plants and the planes in the sky. We keep the lights on and the water flowing, and hell, we even deal the cards here in Las Vegas. See? Our movement is as old as our nation, and yet it's as young as the new immigrant worker working in this hotel, the apprentice, the new teacher that's walking in the classroom for the very first time. So I got to ask you, whose job is it to rebuild our movement? You see, it's our job. That's right. Your job and my job. It's on us to build a movement for the 99%. Not the 11%, but for the 99%. More than 50 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King spoke to the 4th AFL-CIO Constitutional Convention. And he said, "Powerful forces tell us to rely on the goodwill and the understanding of those who profit by exploiting us. They deplore our discontent, and they resent our will to organize." Now, Dr. King knew all about discontent. He knew all about the will to organize. He was not a union member. But he was a courageous leader who knew how to break the silence, how to stand together, and how to win together. And brothers and sisters, he was as good a friend as any worker could ever hope to have. He walked down a line of National Guard bayonets with us. And he died in Memphis at the I Am a Man strike. Even though he knew his life had been threatened, he died for our union brothers and our union sisters who were marching to be recognized as a man. That dignity. See, those strong sanitation workers in the city of Memphis also suffered discontent, and they also acted out of the will to organize. And I have to ask you now, who will we stand with? Who shares our discontent? Who needs our will to organize? And we will stand with anyone who needs us. Dr. King said it then, America needs it now. We need it now. 4 or 5 decades later, we still must stand and make America a place where everyone can stand proudly and say, I am a man, I am a woman, and I deserve dignity and respect because of the work that I do to keep this country up and running. And everything we're doing, everything from growing our political independence to our defense of Social Security and Medicare and food stamps, for our campaigns for comprehensive immigration reform with a workable and realistic path to citizenship, to ending mass incarceration, all of it has an overarching purpose. And that's to build power for working people. For you and for me and for the rest of the 99% out there. And we're going to do this because, as my good friend Senator Elizabeth Warren so eloquently put it, the pundits and the big corporate lobbyists in Washington may be against us, but the American people are on our side. You see, we're working for Wall Street reform, and the right-wing Republicans are fighting it, and our political friends may be nowhere to be found at times, but the American people are on our side. More than 80% of American people agree with us. You see, we're working to raise the minimum wage into a living wage, and business is fighting us, but the American people are with us. More than 75% of the American people are on our side. And we're working for investments in America's infrastructure. Not millions, not billions, but trillions to rebuild this country. And the Republican majority in Washington is fighting us. But more than 70% of the American people are on our side. We're working for education and health care and safe jobs and an economy that works for the people who do the work. Washington says it can't be done, but the American people are on our side. You see, brothers and sisters, we're going to get it done. It starts at the local level and we'll build to the national level, and we'll keep building for global prosperity, for global fair trade, for good jobs, for justice, and a sustainable economy here and abroad. We're going to turn America right side up. You heard me say it. We're going to get it done. Always, always, always. Keep reaching. Keep fighting. Stronger locals. Globally united. We will never, never give up or back down, and we will win for our families and for each other and for the future for our country, standing together, fighting together, organizing together, voting together, and winning together, today, tomorrow, and the future. God bless you.